Hi, beautiful community. I'm here with Sancya, and she is an incredible astrologer. And today she will guide us through plants and planets.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Um, so it's so interesting for me as an astrologer to talk to you guys about your work with the Blue Lotus because all plants have planetary correlations. A lot of people don't know this, but ancient herbalists and doctors across so many different traditions, would associate plant remedies and herbal remedies with planetary transits and even look at somebody's astrological chart to give them a remedy. And so we were talking earlier about Blue Lotus, and I mentioned to Nila that Blue Lotus is a Neptune plant. So we decided to have a conversation about Neptune, about what Neptune's doing right now, because it's doing a lot, it's about to make a big shift, and how you can benefit from working with this transit of Neptune and maybe also work with some Blue Lotus to enhance that process.
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, Blue Lotus is a dream plant. It was used in ancient Egypt and many other ancient cultures as a plant to go into the subconscious mind, into the dream work temples. It was used to connect to the dream states, and it's a visionary plant as well. So when we dream, we also create our reality based on those dreams. So I can't wait to hear all the connections and all the dots you will connect today for us.
I mean, this is exactly it. Neptune is, it's a transpersonal planet. So when we look with the naked eye, we can see all the planets up to Saturn. And then Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which are beyond that, we can't see them with the naked eye, but we can feel them. So they were only discovered with telescopes. And so they're part of modern astrology more than ancient astrology. Neptune, it's named after the god of the ocean. There's this watery quality to Neptune. The lotus grows in water. Neptune, the god of the oceans. And Neptune, 100% in the astrological chart, correlates to the dissolving of boundaries, to altered states, so drugs, but also medicines, to visionary states, and totally to dreams. Neptune often shows up with people that are highly creative, so artists, musicians, people who have a really imaginative or kind of idealistic, way of being. And the other side of Neptune, though, is overwhelm. When we have no boundaries, or we are lost in illusion or delusion, or we don't know what's real, or escapism. And so this is this kind of interesting place that we get to where it's like, what's real? I think, we're going through a time right now where people in general don't know what's real. They don't know on the news what's real. They don't know what to believe, or maybe they're believing things that are really like contradictory or strange or controversial. And so part of the reason that we're seeing this is that Neptune is sitting right at the end of the whole zodiac. He's right at the end of Pisces, and this is culminating a 165-year cycle. So if you think of the journey of the last 165 years of the question, what is real? What did our 165 years ago, what's that? That'd be like our great-grandparents?
Yeah.
Imagine if they could see the internet. Imagine if they could see AI. Like
They'd be seeing themselves created with AI.
Virtual reality, gaming, and a lot of stuff's happened, especially in the since 2011, when Neptune got into Pisces, the 12th and final sign, where there's been this huge kind of spiritual awakening. The new age has like taken on another level, like think 2012, right?
Yeah.
Did you experience anything in 2012, like a shift of any kind?
2012, definitely I did. I experienced, I wasn't super conscious of it, to be honest, but when I look back, I went on this very deep transformational journey. Like I left Albania, where I'm from, and I lived in China for 5 years. I had this my life changed like in a blink of an eye, super quickly. And that was really transformational for me. I started my healing journey. It was very different. It looked very different from what I've been doing in the last 10 years. But I can see that it started there, and then I started traveling through India and through all these mystic places. And I'm like, oh, okay, so going back, that's where it all started, really.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. I'd always been quite an intuitive person. I've always had, I think that's one of the things we have in common is we're both big dreamers. But in 2012, there was a frequency shift. I connected with a different dimension of intelligence, of like cosmic intelligence, that accelerated my path, right? And led me to do a whole lot of shamanic studies and become an astrologer and all these things. So that period of time has been particularly spiritually powerful because Neptune is at home in Pisces. He's the ruler of Pisces. So having Neptune move through Pisces, it's opened up a lot, but it's also been about endings. There's been a lot of grief. There's been a lot of like religious extremism coming to the forefront, a lot of conspiracies. There's also been the psychedelic renaissance where we're seeing psychedelics coming into the mainstream as like therapy. All of this has been connected to Neptune and Pisces. Now, the last 2.5 years have been extra interesting because Saturn, who makes things real, has also been in Pisces with Neptune. And it's kind of accelerated this process of wrapping up these big karmic cycles. And when did Kiss the Earth start?
Kiss the Earth started about 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago. But my relationship with Blue Lotus started a little bit earlier, around 4 years ago. So I started diving into Blue Lotus and having all this dream, actually, a lot of dreams, a lot of dream states, and a lot of yoga nidra with Blue Lotus, and truly tapping into that subconscious mind. And when you talk about the water and Neptune, the water is directly linked to our sacral chakra, and which is our subconscious mind. And I was really able to dive into my subconscious and really find all these ways to lucid dream through my problems at that time, and really the challenges, and the Blue Lotus helped me a lot. And it's been really interesting that you say that the last 2 years have been accelerated into the healing process, and that doesn't mean that things gonna get easier or you're gonna just experience these light states and higher states of consciousness only. Because for me it was like getting into the Blue Lotus, I went straight into that crown initially, and then I started experiencing these other layers of Blue Lotus. And if you look into the journey of the plant, it does represent the whole healing journey, the whole enlightened state, but they all come from these deep subconscious and diving into the unconscious and the subconscious, and also going through really the darkest states, going through those darkest moments, the darkest fears. And I feel like I started it pretty high, and then I internally went through a few depths, through a few petals falling, and then going back into the seed and kind of coming back again. I feel like I'm just coming back again. It's been really very challenging, because I need Blue Lotus to be, just this high vibration, and I definitely always feel the high vibration, but I'm very conscious of my fears now. Maybe before I wasn't conscious. It just brings this presence and consciousness into what is happening, And I feel like it's just the cycle of death and rebirth, and that happens pretty much with every season, probably.
It makes a lot of sense when we talk about Neptune and we talk about Pisces, right? Because there's 12 signs in the zodiac. Neptune's the 12th and final sign. It is that place where everything goes back into the oneness. And in the oneness is also everything that's hidden, everything that's unconscious, and all of the infinite potential. So when you talk about your fears, and especially with Saturn having joined Neptune in Pisces for the last 2.5 years, Saturn's karma. Saturn's like, you have to face the karmic binds and the consequences of your own choices, your inherited karma, and also collective karma, planetary karma. Karma is a very slippery thing, but we really are in this moment where now, as both Saturn and Neptune are getting right to the end of their journey in Pisces, about to cross that threshold into 0 Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, it's such a profound moment of completion and rebirth. And so the fact that you've been working with Blue Lotus has been more deeply sensitizing you to these Neptunian processes. And for people that are drinking a lot of Blue Lotus or feel really connected to it, because it is a plant and planet correspondence, it's bringing you into more resonance with that.
The process.
With the process. And Saturn makes things real. That's why I find it interesting that it was, during the time that Saturn has been in Pisces, you've been really building Kiss the Earth, taking the frequency of Neptune and the Blue Lotus and just grounding it into reality more and more and more. Now, to give you some dates, I've got my notes here because there's a lot of dates, but in 2025, between March and October, Neptune did pop into Aries. So we had this little glimpse of like, what is the new dream that we're dreaming? What is the new identity that's coming in? How does our relationship to reality, how is it getting ready to go from this very Piscean, very expanded, very watery thing into something that's a lot more like, now we're visioning and innovating. Now we're like, how can we dream the new story into being instead of kind of just digesting the last 165 years?
I felt I cried through that whole period.
Because it's a letting go, there's so much grief, there's so many endings as well, and we're letting go of so much. Like I know with Neptune at the end of Pisces, I've felt very connected to compassion and empathy, but I've almost felt like the grief of the whole world. Thank you. I kind of felt like at times the grief of the whole world ripping through my heart. Really big universal compassion, very kind of Buddhist, but also the suffering, like meditating on the suffering and feeling cracked open in that empathy. Now, in just a few days, on the 27th of January, Neptune is going to move into Aries, cross that 0 degrees Aries, the first degree of the zodiac, and it will be there for the next 14 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we are really about to move into the new vision. And then...
And what does that mean, like, for just the normal person, anyone?
Pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to the ideas you're having. Pay attention to the way that you're visualizing. It's kind of like the rebrand, the story you're telling yourself about who you are, the life that you are trying to dream into being. And it's also about our relationship to faith. Like really taking back responsibility for the way that we manifest, not just in I'm going to keep doing the same thing every day and just meditate on my beach house and it's going to arrive. It's like we're getting into the vibration, but then Saturn, who makes shit real, excuse my language, is also going to move into that 0 Aries point and join Neptune. And then we've got the big vibration, the big vision, the big dream state, the connection to what's possible, meeting Saturn, who's like, and this is how you need to show up. This is how you need to take responsibility. This is how you as an individual being need to like rebrand your life.
Wow.
So by the time we get to the 20th of Feb, Chinese New Year, Fire Horse year, a numerological 1 year, 20th of Feb, we are into Neptune and Saturn as close as they're going to get at 0 Aries, the first degree of the zodiac, and it is on.
You told me actually last year, I did an astrology reading with you, and you told me that on the 20th, something big was happening for me. And I was like, oh, did you know that the Chinese New Year would be on that date? Because I'm not super deep into astrology. I just listen to you. But I was like, wow, that's interesting because it's actually the same. The Tibetan New Year, it is the spring equinox in...
That's right. When the sun catches up and gets to 0 Aries, that's also the spring equinox.
Yeah.
And that week of February 20th, we've also got an eclipse. So late February is the plot twist. It's the lighting of the match. It's the real ignition of this next 165-year journey.
Wow.
It's Saturn's new 30-year journey and 2.5 years of Saturn in Aries. So if you've been kind of waiting to dream up a new project, if you feel like there's this new life wanting to begin, but the tide's going out. We're really wrapping up a lot of karmic cycles, a lot of stories, a lot of synchronicities, a lot of grief, a lot of letting go, making space and letting those old chapters close. Those things that have died, you know, we have to bless them on the way out. We need to cry, we need to have those conversations, we need to sign those final papers, and then really by the time we get to like March, especially if people are waiting to launch things or pressuring themselves to start the new thing, it's like now's the time for dreaming.
Yeah.
Brainstorming, visualizing, drinking Blue Lotus, doing intentional dreaming, like asking the visionary states to come through. But it's like we put our foot on the gas late February, early March.
Amazing. Yeah, I feel like I've been in that hold on stage. I've been trying to, you know, like plan and visualize and see what's happening, what's coming up. But I know that I'm not feeling 100% to kind of press go on big things. I just feel like, well, I don't know, there's a little bit of mess going on. There's a little bit of still letting go and clearing, and yeah, it's been interesting, brutal. Let's say.
Yeah, it's been a lot. And I think you're Aquarius rising, so that means that your second house is Pisces, which is about your personal income, your self-worth, your resources. So interesting that you work with this very Neptunian Piscean plant as your business. And then it's going to be your third house of communication.
Okay.
And local travel and siblings and your local environment is Aries. So you might be seeing yourself doing a lot more like short distance travel and communicating a bit more, talking more, being on screen more, writing more, you know, communicating more, storytelling more, sharing more of what you know. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
What else have we got?
What else have we got in my notes? Look, I mean, I think that's it. I could go on about Neptune so much, but I think one thing it's important for people to recognize is that the sense of overwhelm, when we're overwhelmed, we tend to want to escape. And that's where our addictions come in. Whether it's scrolling, numbing out, whether it's using substances, whatever it is. And we just need to give ourselves and the people around us a lot of grace and compassion, especially as these chapters close out, because it can be overwhelming. It can be like a flood. But there's time, you know, everything has its right time. Drink some Blue Lotus, chill out, meditate, be in your compassion. Everything moves at the right time. And it's about to move. Like, enjoy the rest while you can.
So my last question is like, is this how you use plant medicines? Is this like, is this your ritual? How do you incorporate in this work?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big devotee of Venus, and Venus is deeply correlated with the rose. So I will drink rose tea when I'm writing, when I'm building out my courses, when I'm dealing with Venusian themes. You know, if you're having a hard transit, like maybe you're having a Mars transit and you're just feeling really, it's you know, drink some nettle or drink some plants that help align you and smooth you out based on the planetary transits. Yeah, I definitely do that.
Amazing. So it's time to drink some Blue Lotus tea, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Cheers.
Cheers.